What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be looking at how to generate milling patterns, and these will be exported as G code to Inventables. This is the code that gets uploaded to the CNC machine, telling it where to go, what to cut, how to cut, the depth, the starting point, um, the direction, all these things. And so really, Fusion makes it quite easy to generate this code. Now, remember this part here, this was an imported part. We did that in the previous video, so if you haven't watched that yet, do that. It's a very easy way to get parts in. Once you have this part in, you're going to want to, under Model, create a new sketch. You want to make this sort of rectangular outline. Just go to the top, hit the R hotkey for a rectangle, and then draw your rectangle on top. Next, we're going to go to manufacture. This is where we're going to start generating our tool paths. So I generally go with the contour or ramp. There's very little difference in the two. With that said, I've gone with ramp just out of convention. So to start, you're going to select your tool. What we're doing right now is we're making code on how to cut this part out. And so we're going to make some outlines and cut these individual pieces. So we're going to select the tool that we're going to use. Our CNC specifically uses low carbide steel. It's we have 1/16. I think we got a 1/32 bit in, but we're going to stay with 1/16 for now. We have flat. There's the difference between flat and ball. The ball has a rounded. So flat. Next, you can set your spindle RPM. This is how fast your machine will be spinning. We normally go with 5,000. Go too slow and your bit might break just because it's not spinning fast enough. It might drag and get caught on whatever material you're using. Go too fast and it might overheat. So keep this in mind. Notice how all these numbers changed as soon as I changed this number. So these are good estimates. However, sometimes, say you like to go a little bit faster, and you know it's safe to do that, you can increase this number up to, say, 500 millimeters per minute, which is how fast it's going to travel in the plane. Then the ramp feed rate, we don't really use that. The plunge feed rate is how fast it's going to descend. So yeah, you don't really need to touch these besides the first one and maybe the ramp spindle speed, or sorry, the cutting feed rate. You don't have to worry about coolant. We don't really use a coolant. We just have to stop it from overheating by not going so fast. Now, geometry. This is an important part. You might have to go back and rewatch this. Just bear with me here. So selection, you're going to want to choose your boundary. So you want to start by cutting all the insides first, because if you cut the outside first, then your piece is going to be loose, and when you go to cut the inside, it'll move around. So you're going to cut all your inside parts first. This is tedious, especially on this kind of part. Alrighty. So offset, I normally go with 0 offset. Don't have to worry about that. If you're using 1/16 or 1/32 bit, it's normally sufficient enough. If you need more precise or more precise cut, you might want to do a little bit of an offset. Slope, tooling orientation, and model, you don't have to worry about. Always leave that. So now you've selected your geometry. This is what's going to be cut. Your heights. This is very important. If you look here, it tells you what each one is if you highlight over it. Maybe. There it is. So it tells you where the location is for each one of these. Clearance height, this is where it'll start out and begin moving the CNC. So you want that pretty high. Your retraction height, this is where it's going to pull out from drilling. So once it finishes this part, it's going to pull out and go to the next part. So you want good clearance on that. Stock top, I normally change this to the model top. That way you get direct cut on the model surface. However, note that with this, the thickness of this piece needs to be the exact thickness or larger of your piece. And then bottom height, I normally set to the model bottom. Tolerancing. So you don't need to adjust this, really. I normally do not touch anything within here. Sometimes you might want to change the maximum step down. So this is how much it's going to step down in each time it goes around. So it goes around once, then how far is it going to drop down? If you want more of a precise cut, then you might want to reduce that number. If you want a faster cut, you go with a larger number. 1 millimeter is about average. I wouldn't go more than 1.25 or 1.5. Any larger than that, and then you might be trying to cut too much at once. You need a higher, if you were to go back here, you need a higher cutting feed rate and or mainly a higher spindle speed. So that's how you make a tool path ramp for the inner portions. So you press OK, and notice up here it's going to generate that tool path. Now I'm going to, let's go ahead and make the next one. This one I'm going to go through quickly. Same exact process. Tool is already selected. I'm not going to even adjust these parameters. I'm just going to change the selection. So I want to do the whole outer surface, and this is why we make the outer rectangle, because then when you choose the outer rectangle and this portion, it only cuts the outer. But if you were to only select this outline here, it would cut everything inside. So that's why it's key to have this rectangle here on the outside. All right, so select, select, select. Alrighty, not going to worry about retraction height or anything like that on this. Yeah. All right, so now we're going to go to our setup. We're going to hit edit. Notice where our location is of our X, Y, and Z axis. So on our CNC, we've specifically scaled this part in what is now the Y direction of the part. However, we need it to be the X direction on the CNC. So we're going to change this to select our X and Y, or Z and X axis. So Z axis, we can just click this plane, and then it's coming upwards. X axis, we want it to go in the direction of the Y axis that's right now. So we're going to select this face, say, and look, we just switched our X axis. And our Y axis is now pointing in the proper direction. Next, we want to move this to the model box point. That's what I normally go with. Puts it to the height of the model. And that's it. That's all you really need to do for your setup. You don't have to worry about stock or post-process. Again, some of these things, even in this setup, I'm not sure all the details about, but they're not really important for our use. So you hit OK. Now notice these went red. This might happen sometimes. It says invalid toolpath. All you need to do is hit edit and then hit OK. It's because you changed your setup. And because you changed your setup, notice the hierarchy. So now we'll wait for these to finish up and then we should be done. So this is how you make your milling paths for a part. In the next video, I'll show you how we can test what this will look like, and we can simulate this, and we'll work on exporting it to actual G-code. But remember, once this is done, always, 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 always save. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video.